So previously, you've had some exposure to writing out Python code with things like strings, lists, and function calls. As you might have already found out, Python only likes your program if it's written in a very specific way, and will complain if it isn't. To illustrate that point, let's walk through an error-ridden sample program and show you how to fix some lines of code that Python doesn't like. That way, you'll be better equipped to handle errors similar to it in the future. So here on the left-hand side, we have the Python program that we'll be working with throughout the video. Before continuing, take a minute and familiarize yourself with the code. See if you can identify some lines of code that Python might not like. Let's try and run this program in the Python shell and see where it gets us. It seems like Python is complaining about some mysterious EOL while scanning string literal. Before we get into explaining the error, note the caret right here that Python uses to point to a specific character of the line. As you'll see throughout the video, these carets provide a pretty good indication of where and how we made syntax errors. Also, note the acronym EOL. That just means end of line. So here, Python is essentially telling you that it started to look at the last element in that list with the string scissors. Note how scissors starts with a single quote. While strings can be marked by using either single or double quotation marks, it turns out that Python looks for the same kind of ending quote as the starting quote when looking for the end of the string. We can fix this first error by changing that last double quote to a single quote. Let's do that, rerun the program, and see what else Python tells us is wrong. Python is now saying that we have an invalid syntax error on the same line. Before examining this error, remember a few things about Python. Recall that Python function parameters are surrounded by parentheses. Also recall that new lists are surrounded by brackets, and each element of that new list is comma separated. With these in mind, let's look at the error. When Python is scanning the line, it looks like we're trying to pass in a weirdly incomplete list into the function, ending right before the caret, because the closed bracket came after the closed parentheses. We can easily fix that by changing the closed parentheses and the closed bracket. Let's do that here. Good. Moving right along. Let's rerun the program. Now, Python is complaining about some syntax error on the if statement line. Notice the caret points to the equality sign. It seems like Python doesn't like us checking whether the computer's choice equals paper. If you remember back to the video about Python operators, this error makes sense. Back then, we learned that one equals sign is used to set equality, whereas two equal signs are used to check equality. In other words, we set equality if we want a variable to take on a certain value, and we check equality if we want to, for example, check if a variable holds a value. Since we're checking if the computer's choice, a variable, is paper, we need to use two equal signs, not just one. Let's add that extra equals sign and rerun. Apparently, Python's still not happy with that line. Now it says invalid in syntax error, but this time the caret is pointing to the end of the line. It looks like something is wrong with the end of our if statement. If you remember a previous video about if statements, we learned that we must always follow the if condition with a colon. Python's just reminding us here that we're missing one. Let's add that in and rerun. Check out the next error. Notice the caret is near a single quote. But wait, a single quote in the middle of a string surrounded by single quotes might be a problem. Python might actually think that we put the single quote here to signal the end of the string when we just want it to be another character in the string. In order to fix the error, we need to tell Python that we want to ignore that single quote near the caret. In Python, we ignore or escape single quotes and other special characters by writing a backslash before each character. Let's do that and see what else might be an issue in this program. Just add the backslash here. Save and rerun. Nice. Python doesn't give us any more errors. Let's try and play our game. I'll pick rock as my weapon of choice. Let's see what the program does. Uh-oh. Even though Python output only one error, there's actually one that it didn't catch. Take a minute and see if you can identify that error. The error Python didn't catch is seen in the line user U chose user. Wait, we didn't choose a weapon user. We chose a weapon rock. It turns out that in our Python program, we accidentally quoted the user variable as a string when we didn't mean to. We just wanted to output the string the user variable was set to. Let's remove the single quotes around user to get rid of that error. Right here. We save that. Now, the real Python error, the one it actually told us about, has to do with user with a capital U not being defined. Basically, this is Python telling us that it tried to look for a variable called user with a capital U in the program, but it didn't find any. Wait, but we have the variable user with a lowercase u. So why didn't Python think that's what we wanted? It turns out that Python is extremely picky with variable names. The names need to be the exact same, even down to the capitalization. Since we really meant user with a lowercase u, let's make that quick fix and keep going. Right here. We choose our weapon again. I'll pick rock. Like Python didn't see the user variable in our program, Python doesn't see the rock variable in our program either. Here, we probably forgot to put rock in single quotes since we want it to be a string, not a variable. Let's do that and run it one last time. Right here. Let me choose rock as my weapon once again. It works. The process of getting rid of errors, also known as debugging, a program was exhausting, just like you saw here. Just when we thought we fixed one error, we found another one. But it's something that all programmers experience at some point, trust me. And they need strategies to deal with it. And changing only one part of the code and rerunning is a good approach that we took here. We hope that this video helped you recognize the usefulness and effectiveness of this approach. Good luck debugging in your future.